My name is Trig. I'm with Destiny City Electric. I'm a licensed electrical contractor here in the state of Washington. This is my first SIP house, and I looked at this project, having never done one before, as an opportunity to expand my business and also to expand my craft. What I would like to do is give you some of the ideas of how I was able to go from having never experienced it, doing contracting in the state of Washington, stick frame, commercial, industrial is my background, but I've transitioned into doing some of the residential, and so this is my first foray into SIP houses. And so I'd like to give you some information on how I was able to identify some potential hazards, and also to show you and simplify the process so that it's easy for you to take on a project like this. I think they're a great home and they have great design. Obviously, you want to be involved early on in the planning of it, because there are some things that you need to identify early in the process so that, that the process runs smooth like any other house would work. The number one thing I would want to do in this would be the planning phase. Sitting down with the architect or design team, owners, to find out lighting locations, outlet locations, primarily because for me, I want to honor the design phase, but at the same time, I have to also honor my codes and requirements here in the state of Washington. And so involving in that planning phase, I need to find out where the service panel is going to go, where any exterior penetrations need to be, and then depending on the type of subfloor you have, in this particular installation, we have slab on grade. So we don't have any option to do that later. So we had to plan every location where we would want to have stub-ups, conduit coming up through the floor, and we would want to make sure we could identify those on any interior walls, because obviously anywhere where we had a SIP wall, the structural, insulated panel, you were not going to be able to bring a conduit up into that area. So what we're going to do during this video is we're going to show several ways for us to not only creatively but simply run our wires from a stick frame wall into a SIP, from a SIP to a SIP, both of these on a corner, from an outlet to a switch, and then transitioning to a corner of another outlet. We're also going to show you transitioning in the ceiling from a wall out to the lights, and then from a light to a light, and then we're also going to transition on internal corner. So what we have is we have a pantry here, and we need to put a box in here, and I want to come around the corner and feed this outlet right here. So I've got my chase here, and I've planned to come around to my chase here. So I'm going to drill my hole. So now I've penetrated through the OSB, pulled out the plug. So at this point, what we have is we have our void. If I continue to drill, basically we slide our box in. So now I got to get the wire from here to the outlet. So now I've also got a wall here, and then these stick frames. So this is the transition point between the two holes. So now we, in any SIP wall, you're going to transition from the SIP to a stick frame, and here's how I have resolved doing that issue. So I take a fish stick, which you can buy anywhere, and you take string, which you can pick up at any electrical supply house, I stick that through to my hole here, and then I've made a hook. And what I do at this point, I catch my wire, I reach through, I catch my wire, I pull my stick out, and now I have a chase. So I've transitioned from there to there. Tie this on to your string. Throw a little tape on there for good measure. One of the things you don't want to happen while you're doing this is to lose your string. All right. Using the existing hole and knowing that there's an existing hole there, I match it up, bring my wire into the box, and you've made the transition to the corner. So in this situation, what I have, the way the layout is I have an outlet, and then I've got to come up from the outlet to a switch. And so we're setting our switches at 48 inches, which there's a mark there. There's a mark here. There's also a layout here at 9 inches and up top at 9 inches. So what I'm going to do is mark 9. And actually we go top of box at 48, so I go 46. And in this situation, we're going 16, top of box. So we have a vertical chase at this point, and then we also have a horizontal chase. So now I'm going to come up to the switch. So you see you've got your vertical and your horizontal, and they meet perfectly. So your wire actually can transition with relative ease. So we've got a chase right here. And if I just reach over, grab my wire. And in this situation, what I do when I'm fishing down is I have my string already attached to my wire. It also gives me some pliability. And in the future, it gives me the option of running continuous wire down there. So that is how I would pull down. Now if I want to continue this run and come around the corner to another outlet, I just pull this long till I reach the end. That's my switch. Take my trusty hook. So now I've got my horizontal hole. I stuff my wire in there. Stick my rod. So I've got my string. But I don't want to go into here. I actually want to transition to this point. So I've got a string out. I catch my string here. Push this down to here. So then what I've done is I basically just suck this string back up through here. So now I've got a string from there to there. I pull my fish stick back. I tie my wire on. So I've got a continuous string where my two SIP walls line up. And I pull my string through here, leaving a tail here for my outlet, and then I got an outlet there. So that's how I would transition from a SIP to a SIP, and then transition up to a switch. Okay, so what we have a SIP ceiling that we transition on one end to a SIP wall, and on this end we have basically a shear wall. So to transition from SIP to shear, we're using the existing chases that were pre-designed by the builder and the design team, and that came down to this wall. So we were able to drill a hole on the reverse side of this shear wall to make the connection. So now we want to go down to go from a light switch up into the SIP wall to connect to the lights. In this particular installation, we have this light and then another light. This hole only services as a transition from the horizontal to, I guess they're both from the exterior chase to the central chase. So I'm just going to push, I'm using a standard fish tape and string. Again, that's my tools of the trade. Transition that over. I will cut my string. I will pull my string through. So now I have, and you could, a little bit of fun here. Very easy. But the holes are there, everything's easy, you know, now you can pull your wire. So this hole, once all the strings are tied tight, we can take this, cover it up, seal it up, and it's like it was never there. So they'll put some foam and some sort on that. So again, I'm using this pre-existing chase. Got to clear it out. I push my so now I continue to push the chase. This is about 4 feet away from where I'm at right now, and I'm just using my fish tape and the string. I'll grab the end of the fish tape stick. I can pull this back. Let's get that. So we've transitioned now from the switch. We've pulled our string out to the center. We've come to a light, and then we've transitioned to the next light. And again, all using pre-existing chases and minor drilling or minor requirements as far as being able to drill that exterior hole to transition and pull it down the line. So here's an area where you have a first floor garage, upper floor studio, and you have, instead of a full panel SIP, you've got a SIP, first floor SIP that sits, and I have a second floor SIP that sits on top. And so there's a chase above and below, which we've identified here by drilling a penetration into this wall. And there's a hole above. Both of these we measured, laid out, drilled the hole. In this particular situation, we had an installation where the chases were blocked by blocking. So we actually had to take a flex drill bit. So it's on like a, they make this in a 48 inch, they make it in a 24 inch, they make it in a lot of different lengths, but this is a 5/8 drill bit. And we stuck this in the hole at an angle, and we went up and we were able to drill the blocking out. And then we were able to use a fish stick, which we've displayed earlier, right here with the string, push it up through the hole. So you've got a guy on top and on bottom. We pulled the string up, so now we already have the string through here. In this particular installation, we're pulling a speaker wire and a number 12 Romex NMB. So Sean, do you want to go ahead and pull it? Pull both strings tight. Good. Go ahead. Okay, nice and easy. Keep going. Okay, nice and easy. Okay, now just pull one. Pull the yellow. Okay, now pull the other one. Good. So now that's how we've transitioned from first floor to the second floor. So we've just pulled this wire up from the lower floor to the upper floor. Now we want to transition from this corner to this corner. And in this situation, we're not going to drill any external holes. So we're going to use this fish tape, just basically your normal number 12 wire. And I'm going to stick this in right here. And then I'm going to stick this one in to the pre-designed chases. You can actually see here where they line up. So it's just a basic number 12 wire that we put a hook on. So now I'm going to stick this here down through the chase. And this particular one here, I had a string on. There we go. So now I've just with basic fishing techniques that any remodeler or contractor might use, I'm able to pull this through, and I actually fish this all the way through. So at that case, I have a string all the way through, which I pulled out. These are a couple of standard electrical boxes. One is a metal and one is a fiberglass. Both of these come in a remodel style. These are not. These are in addition to remodel style, but they have screw holes here where you can actually attach it to a OSB sheet of plywood or sheetrock or whatever. In this situation with the ceiling that we have in this project, I'm going to use both a combination of fiberglass and metal. Primarily the metal are going to go up in the architectural high ceilings or anywhere where a fixture is going to hang that might be over 50 pounds. So here we have an architectural ceiling. This is actually the dining room fixture location. We've pulled our wire using the existing chases. So we've got the metal box. It's good for over 50 pounds. We're going to take this up, stick it up in here, and then take a couple of screws to screw into the OSB, and it's ready for sheetrock. Looking back at this this process and having going from that initial phase of, I would say, somewhat reluctant or fearful, but at the same time looking for work and wanting to find new ways to expand my business, grow my business, to stay in business. SIPS happens to be something that is available right now, and I had an opportunity. And I have no regrets in doing it. In fact, I look forward to doing more, partly because it's much more manageable to pull wire. It's much more, it's very similar to a lot of the work that I do. I do a lot of remodel work. I do a lot of projects where you're in people's homes and you're trying to do minimal damage. You're trying to do minimal mess. And so this is a lot like that. except I get to get in before the sheetrocker. So, so in a way, it actually makes the project a little simpler on my end. But at the same time, the cost, I would say, or the overall project expense as far as material is very similar to what it would cost for another contractor to do a regular stick frame house. If you're involved in the early planning process, you can definitely minimize your labor expense. You can minimize the time it will take to produce the project from start to finish.